Scarlett Reed never thought a single signature would cost her everything. She stood in the hallway of the Blackwood Hotel in downtown Chicago. Her hands were clammy. Her heart was pounding. And her father was waiting inside the presidential suite with a man she had only seen on magazine covers. Damon Blackwood, 41 years old, owner of the Blackwood Hotel chain worth over $30 billion. He was known for being ruthless in business and emotionless in life. The tabloids called him the Ice King. Scarlett's father, Edward, was a renowned architect. His firm had designed some of the most beautiful buildings in the Midwest. But 3 years ago, a client sued him for faulty construction. The case dragged on. Legal fees piled up. And now the firm was weeks away from collapse. Damon Blackwood had offered a deal. He would pay off all the debts and inject new capital into the firm. In exchange, he would marry Scarlett. Not for love. Not for companionship. But for appearances. Damon needed a wife to secure a business merger with a conservative foreign partner who valued family image. Scarlett needed a savior for her father. She was 28 years old. An art history graduate who worked as a gallery curator. She had never been in love. Never even been close. And now she was about to become Mrs. Blackwood without ever having held her husband's hand. The door to the suite was heavy oak. She knocked. "Come in." The voice was deep. Cold. Professional. She pushed the door open. Damon Blackwood stood by the window. His back to her. He wore a charcoal suit. No tie. The top 2 buttons of his white shirt were undone. When he turned, Scarlett felt her breath catch. He was not classically handsome. He was striking. Sharp jaw. Dark hair graying at the temples. Eyes the color of steel. And there was something in his gaze. Not warmth, but assessment. Like he was evaluating a piece of property. "Miss Reed," he said. "Please sit." She sat on the leather sofa across from him. Her father was not in the room. He had been told to wait in the lobby. Damon handed her a document. Thick. Typed. Sealed with a paperclip. "This is the prenuptial agreement," he said. No emotion in his voice. "You will receive a monthly allowance, a credit card for household expenses, and a lump sum after 5 years of marriage." She skimmed the pages. Her eyes caught a line. "The marriage will be consummated only if both parties agree in writing." She looked up. He met her gaze. "I have no interest in forcing anything," he said. "This is a business arrangement. Nothing more." Scarlett swallowed. "And in public? In public, you will smile. Hold my arm. And call me Damon. In private, we will have separate bedrooms. You will not interfere with my work. And I will not ask about your personal life." She wanted to cry. But she had promised her father she would be strong. She picked up the pen and signed. The wedding was 3 days later. A small civil ceremony at City Hall. No flowers. No music. No guests except her father and Damon's lawyer. Scarlett wore a simple white dress she had bought off the rack. Damon wore the same charcoal suit. He did not smile when the judge pronounced them husband and wife. He did not kiss her. He simply shook her hand. Like closing a deal. That night, they drove to his penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan. It was all glass and steel. Beautiful, cold and silent. A maid showed Scarlett to her room. It was at the opposite end of the hallway from Damon's. The bed was large. The sheets were white, and there was a single rose on the pillow. Scarlett sat on the edge of the bed, stared at the rose, and felt nothing. The door opened. Damon stood there. His tie was gone. His sleeves rolled up. "This is your room," he said. "Yes. You will have access to the kitchen, the gym, the pool, anywhere except my study." She nodded. He turned to leave, then paused. "Scarlett?" "Yes." He did not look at her. "I am sorry this is how it happened, but I cannot give you what you want, and I will not pretend to." Then he closed the door, and she was alone. The weeks that followed were a study in isolation. Scarlett woke early, ate breakfast alone at a table that could seat 12, spent mornings exploring the penthouse. There was a library filled with first editions, a terrace with a view of the lake, a wine cellar that held bottles older than her father. But there was no warmth, no laughter, no sign that anyone had ever been happy here. Damon left for work at 7 each morning. He returned after 10 at night. When they passed in the hallway, he nodded. Nothing more. The maids were polite but distant. They had been instructed not to engage her in conversation. Scarlett felt like a ghost in her own home. One afternoon, she found a piano in a room she had not yet explored. It was a Steinway, black and gleaming. She sat on the bench, ran her fingers over the keys, and began to play. She had not played since college, but the music came back to her. Chopin. A nocturne. Soft. Melancholic. She did not hear the door open. She did not see Damon standing in the doorway. When she finished, his voice startled her. "You play." She turned. He was leaning against the doorframe, his expression unreadable. "I used to," she said. "My mother taught me." "She is gone." He nodded, did not offer condolences. He simply said, "Play something else." And then he left. But that night, dinner was different. For the first time, he sat across from her at the table. They ate in silence, but he did not rush away. After the plates were cleared, he spoke. "Why did you agree to this marriage?" She met his eyes. "For my father. He is all I have." Damon nodded slowly. "My father was a drunk," he said, his voice flat. "He died when I was 17. I built this company from nothing, and I learned that love is a weakness. People use it against you." Scarlett felt a strange pang. Pity. For this man who had everything and nothing. "Not everyone is like that," she said. "Maybe." He stood. "But I cannot afford to find out." "Good night, Scarlett." He left, and she sat alone, wondering if there was more to Damon Blackwood than ice. Weeks turned into months. Scarlett began to notice small changes. Her favorite tea appeared in the kitchen without her asking. A stack of art history books showed up on her nightstand. The thermostat in her room was adjusted to her preferred temperature. She asked the head maid about it. Mrs. Danvers just smiled. Mr. Blackwood gives very specific instructions, she said. But Scarlett knew. Damon was watching her, learning her, even if he would not admit it. One night, she could not sleep. She walked to the library and found him there, sitting in the dark, staring at the fire. "You are still awake," she said. He did not turn. "I do not sleep much." She sat on the sofa across from him. "Why not?" "Too many thoughts." He finally looked at her, his steel eyes softer in the firelight. "Too many regrets." She wanted to ask what regrets, but she did not. Instead, she said, "Tell me something about yourself. Something no one knows." He was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "I wanted to be a musician. When I was young, I played the cello." She blinked. "What happened?" "My father broke it." He said music was for weak men. Scarlett felt her chest tighten. "That was cruel." He shrugged. "It made me who I am." She stood, walked to the piano, and began to play. Not Chopin this time, but a lullaby. Soft, soothing. When she finished, Damon was standing beside her, his hand on the edge of the piano. "You are different," he said, "from anyone I have met." She looked up at him. Their faces were close. She could see the fine lines around his eyes, the faint scar on his jaw. "Is that good or bad?" He did not answer. He just looked at her for a long moment. Then he stepped back. "Good night, Scarlett." And he was gone. The next day, a cello appeared in the library. Beautiful. Old. Made of rich, dark wood. Scarlett found a note beside it. It had one word. "Play." She smiled. And for the first time since the wedding, she felt something other than despair. The days that followed were different. Damon began coming home earlier. He would find her in the library, sometimes reading, sometimes playing the piano, sometimes just sitting by the fire. He would sit across from her, and they would talk. Not about business, not about the marriage, but about small things. Books, music, places they had traveled. He told her about a trip to Japan, where he had seen cherry blossoms for the first time. She told him about a summer in Paris, where she had spent afternoons in the Louvre. They were not friends. Not yet. But the ice was cracking. One evening, Damon came home with a small box. He handed it to her without explanation. She opened it. Inside was a delicate necklace, a silver pendant shaped like a tiny music note. "I saw it in a shop window," he said, his voice almost awkward, "and I thought of you." Scarlett felt tears prick her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. He shrugged. "It is nothing." But it was not nothing. And they both knew it. The first real crack came 3 months into the marriage. Scarlett had been invited to a charity gala. Her father was receiving an award for his architectural work. Damon was supposed to attend with her. But at the last minute, he sent a message. He was stuck in a meeting. She would have to go alone. Scarlett dressed in a deep blue gown. Put on the music note necklace and went to the gala alone. Her father was proud, hugged her tightly, but she felt the absence of Damon like a missing limb. Halfway through the night, she saw him. He was standing at the entrance, his tie undone, his hair disheveled. He had come. He walked to her without a word, took her hand, and led her to the dance floor. "I thought you had a meeting," she said. "I canceled it," he said, his voice low. "You needed me." She looked up at him, and for the first time, she saw something in his eyes that was not cold. It was warm, almost tender. They danced in silence, his hand on her waist, her hand on his shoulder. When the song ended, he did not let go. "Scarlett," he said, his voice rough. "I have been lying to myself about us, about what I feel." Her heart raced. "What do you feel?" He opened his mouth, but before he could answer, a woman approached. Tall, blonde, wearing a red dress that screamed money. "Damon," she said, her voice dripping with familiarity. "I did not expect to see you here." "With company." Damon stiffened. His hand tightened on Scarlett's waist. "Veronica," he said, his voice cold again. "This is my wife." Veronica laughed. A brittle sound. "Oh, I know who she is." "The architect daughter you bought?" Scarlett felt the words like a slap. "Veronica," Damon warned. "What?" Veronica tilted her head. "It is true, isn't it? You married her for a merger." "Everyone knows." Scarlett wanted to disappear, but Damon spoke. His voice was ice. "You are wrong," he said. "I married Scarlett because I wanted to. Not for a merger. Not for appearances. Because she is the only person who has ever made me feel anything." The room seemed to go quiet. Scarlett stared at him. Veronica paled. Then she turned and walked away. Damon looked at Scarlett, his eyes vulnerable. "I am sorry," he said. "That was not how I wanted you to find out." "Find out what?" He took a deep breath. "That I am falling in love with you." Scarlett's heart stopped. Then she kissed him. Right there on the dance floor. In front of everyone. He kissed her back, his arms wrapping around her, holding her like he would never let go. That night, they went home together. Not to separate rooms, but to his room, his bed. They did not rush. He undressed her slowly, reverently, touching her like she was made of glass. She traced the scars on his chest, the story of a man who had fought his whole life, and she kissed each one. When they finally came together, it was not just passion. It was healing. For both of them. Afterward, they lay tangled in the sheets, his arm around her, her head on his chest. "I never thought I would have this," he said, his voice quiet. "I never thought I deserved it." Scarlett raised her head. "You deserve everything," she said. "And I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving it to you." He kissed her forehead. And for the first time, he smiled. A real smile. Not the cold one he showed the world, but one that reached his eyes. The months that followed were the happiest of Scarlett's life. Damon was different now. He laughed more, touched her constantly. A hand on her back, a kiss on her neck. His fingers intertwined with hers under the dinner table. He took her to Paris, to the Louvre, where they spent an entire day looking at paintings. He took her to Japan to see the cherry blossoms, and he played the cello for her. The same cello his father had broken. He had repaired it, and now he filled the penthouse with music. Scarlett began designing a new building, a small art museum for the city. Damon funded it without being asked. He believed in her, and that belief made her brave. One morning, Scarlett woke up nauseous. She thought it was something she ate, but the nausea persisted. Day after day. She went to the doctor and came home with news that made her hands tremble. She was pregnant. She did not know how to tell Damon. He had never talked about children. His childhood had been so painful. She worried he would be afraid. That night, she found him in the library, playing the cello. She sat beside him, and when he finished, she took his hand. "Damon," she said, "I have something to tell you." He looked at her, his eyes soft. "What is it?" She placed his hand on her belly. "We are going to have a baby." He went still. His breath caught. His eyes widened. Then he pulled her into his arms and held her so tightly she could barely breathe. "A baby?" he whispered, his voice breaking. "Our baby." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. He knelt in front of her, pressed his lips to her belly, and spoke to the tiny life inside. "I promise you," he said, "I will be the father I never had. I will love you, protect you, and I will never leave." Scarlett ran her fingers through his hair and felt her heart overflow. 7 months later, Scarlett gave birth to a daughter. They named her Hope, because that was what she represented. Hope for a future. Hope for a family. Hope that love could heal even the deepest wounds. Damon held his daughter for the first time, and he cried. Scarlett had never seen him cry. He looked at her with wonder and said, "She has your eyes." Scarlett smiled. "She has your heart." They raised Hope in the penthouse, but it was no longer cold. It was filled with music, with laughter, with love. Damon became a different man. He left work early to push a stroller through the park. He read bedtime stories in silly voices. He learned to bake cookies. He burned the first 3 batches, but Hope ate them anyway. And Scarlett watched them together, her husband and her daughter, and marveled at how far they had come. One evening, when Hope was 3 years old, Scarlett found Damon on the terrace, staring at the lake. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, wrapping her arms around him from behind. He turned, held her close. "I was thinking about the day we signed the prenup," he said, "and how I told you this was just a business arrangement." She laughed. "I remember. I wanted to throw the pen at your head." He smiled. "I'm glad you did not." Because then, he paused. Then I would have missed this. Us. Her. He looked toward the living room where Hope was building a tower of blocks. This is everything I never knew I wanted. Scarlett kissed him. Softly. Sweetly. I love you, she said. Damon Blackwood. The Ice King. He kissed her back. And I love you, he said. More than I ever thought possible. They stood on the terrace, watching the sun set over the lake, their daughter laughing inside, their future stretching out before them. And Scarlett thought about that first night, when she had sat alone in a cold room, staring at a single rose, believing she would never be happy. She had been wrong. Because sometimes, the coldest beginnings lead to the warmest endings. Sometimes, the man who swears he cannot love is the one who loves the deepest. And sometimes, a contract can become a promise, and a promise can become forever. That is the story of Scarlett and Damon Blackwood. A story about ice and fire, about walls and windows, about learning that love is not a weakness. It is the greatest strength of all. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and become a member to get early access to upcoming stories. Your support makes all the difference and helps us keep bringing stories that move you.